Joining me right now as we take another focus on the race for Texas 19, Colonel Michael Bob Starr on the phones with us this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Chad. How are you?
Doing well. Appreciate you coming on the show today. I know you're out there campaigning, and one of the reasons we wanted to have you on today is there's been quite a few news stories and I guess discussion about a PAC that has been, funding some ads out there. I believe TV and radio ads that are out there, and the PAC has, it seems, to a lot of folks out there, has a lot of ties back to Congressman Randy Neugebauer. What do you know about this PAC that is supporting you, and how much discussion have you had with the Neugebauer camp?
Yeah. So, well, here's what I know first before we get to the PAC. What I know is that wherever I go around this district, I find people that are incredibly enthusiastic about my campaign. They are, they're sick and tired of politicians. I think they appreciate that someone who doesn't have a political background or any, political aspirations really, other than to represent them in Congress, has entered this race. And so it's been very exciting. And I was surprised when I heard that there would be a super PAC forming in this race, and frankly, I'm humbled that there are people out there that feel enthusiastic enough about my candidacy and want to express their right to enter this race and let people know how they feel.
How much discussion have you had, or if any discussion, with those who are, I guess, part of the Neugebauer camp?
Well, I spoke with Congressman Neugebauer early on in this race. I've spoken with him, I think, once or twice in the course of the campaign, much like I've spoken with Congressman Thornberry, and I've spoken with Congressman Conaway, just to make sure that I'm in tune with the issues and with what they're seeing and what they're hearing, and learning from them as someone who wants to be a future congressman.
Have you asked for an endorsement?
Come on, Chad. I'm a politician running for office. I ask everybody I meet for an endorsement. Will you endorse me?
Well, have you asked the congressman, and has he given you an answer?
No, I have. I've asked, in fact, all three of those names that I just mentioned, and they are all committed to staying neutral in this race, and I appreciate that. Visiting
with Colonel Michael Bob Starr. What do you think the reason is for the concern that I've heard, and I'm sure you and your campaign has heard from folks who are concerned that so many with the Neugebauer camp are tied in to this PAC?
I don't really know. I think you'd have to ask them. I am not running for Congressman Neugebauer. I'm not running against Congressman Neugebauer. I'm running for my vision of what I think this country needs and what I think this district needs, and I am more focused on the threats that we're facing than on who may or may not be, whoever was representing us in the past and what happened in the past.
I think, and we're visiting with Colonel Michael Bob Starr on the phone here, candidate for Texas 19, and we'll have him on for the next 30 minutes or so we'll get into some other issues as well. But these are questions that I think have been raised, and during the last forum, one of your opponents, Mayor Robertson, brought up that he was not going to be controlled by anyone. I don't know if that was a veiled shot at you or not, to be honest, but it sort of seemed like it, because whenever, he has said that he's not going to take PAC money. He has made that one of a central theme, I guess, of his campaign, that he's going to put his own money into it, and he has. For you, you're taking PAC money now. For those who are concerned that, okay, now you're going to be beholden to maybe this PAC or other people out there, what do you say to those folks?
Well, I think I've had some really good advice from someone who's been in this business for a very long time, and his point was that everybody is beholden to something, and so what I'm beholden to are I'm beholden to people of faith. I'm beholden to Christians and people who hold Christian values. I am beholden to people who have served this country in the military and their families. But other than that, I'm not beholden to a group just because they've decided to support me. In fact, like I said, I'm humbled and grateful that so many people from various parts of the district and from various endeavors have decided to put their support behind me and help get a non-politician to D.C. and really provide some leadership.
Whenever I have a candidate on, I like to get their responses to attacks that have been lobbed their way. One of the other candidates in this race lobbed an attack at you once, I think, during this past forum hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, but also while on this show, and it was Greg Garrett, who was one of the candidates in this race for Texas 19. He accused you of wanting to be a career politician and why, I guess, wanting to stay in Washington, D.C. What is your response to that?
Yeah, Greg's a good guy, and I like him. And we've talked a couple of times throughout the race, and I don't know honestly where that's coming from. That seems a little out of character to me. I mean, just based on what I know from Greg, and I know it's getting down to crunch time, and there are candidates in this race that are starting to get nervous as we get closer and closer to voting. Mike, I have been very clear that I am not interested in being a career politician. I've had a career. I had a great career in the Air Force. I have raised my kids. I've got 2 godly sons, and I want to go serve, and I want to go make a difference, and that's what I want to do.
If elected, how long do you anticipate serving?
I really don't have a time horizon out there. I will serve as long as I can be effective for the people of West Texas, and as long as my duties allow me to spend most of my time in West Texas.
Are you for or against term limits?
I am against term limits, Chad, and it's because I think we have to be clear about what the problem is. The term limits are often cast in as a solution to the fact that incumbents are not responsive to voters. What the real root cause of that is the excessive power that's been accumulated in the federal government, unconstitutional. I mean, in direct contradiction of the 10th Amendment. And with all that power inside of D.C., it becomes a very self-absorbed city, and incumbents and people, anybody who spends too much time in D.C. becomes more focused on enhancing and stewarding their power than they are in taking care of the people. What I'm afraid of with term limits is when which would limit the power of incumbents, but that power doesn't go away. You can't destroy it. It will stay in D.C., and I'm afraid it will migrate to unelected staffers and bureaucrats. And if you're upset by how unresponsive incumbents are, just wait until you see how unresponsive an unelected bureaucrat and staffer could be. Someone who stays there for years and years and accumulates power while there is a constant turnover among the elected officials. And and bottom line, I think with the 2-year term, I mean, we have term limits already in the House of Representatives.
Visiting with Colonel Michael Bob Starr. Before we take our first break, another concern that has been relayed to me from some who are out there, and I think a lot of this goes to people who may not know you, and maybe they don't know your history, but they wonder about your ties to this area and how dedicated you are to the issues of West Texas, the issues of the 19th Congressional District. Because, again, while you've been at Dyess Air Force Base, you're not from this area necessarily. So talk to those folks who are concerned about that. Should that be a concern of theirs?
Yeah, and I've seen some shots on social media and in the blogosphere about me not from being around here. It's not like I'm from New York or California or something like that. I grew up in.
Are you about to throw down New York values? Is that what you're about to do?
No. I want to stay far away from that. But the truth is, I grew up in rural Oklahoma. I mean, just across the Red River. And in fact, if you'd gone out of our trailer home and shot a 22 south, you'd have probably hit Texas. I mean, it was very similar and the exact same values. And went to the Air Force Academy as a young man, and then spent 23 years going where the Air Force told me to. And I'm grateful that 4 of my 14 assignments were here to Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, and this is where we have chosen to make our home. I could have lived anywhere in the world and chose to make Abilene and West Texas our home because this is where this is the region that we found that holds the same values that we do.
Colonel Starr, I'm going to put you back on hold. When we come back, we'll have more of an interview with Colonel Michael Bob Starr here on the Chad Hasty Show, candidate for Texas 19. We'll be right back here on News Talk 790 KFYO. Joining us on the phones right now, Colonel Michael Bob Starr, candidate for Texas 19. Colonel, thank you again for coming on the show with us. I want to get your opinion. U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack said on Wednesday that he lacked the authority to designate cottonseed as a commodity under the 2014 Farm Bill. Obviously, there are many who are disappointed with that decision. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, actually, Chad, before I answer that question, I'm glad you asked it, but I just want to go back to that, to our first segment and say again, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to come on your show and address some of these smear campaigns that have cropped up over the last 10 days or so. I think it shows a couple things. I think, first of all, it shows that I am clearly getting to some of the campaigns and making some people nervous, and they are doing the things that politicians do, whether it's a whisper campaign or an innuendo or allegations. And this is exactly what people are tired of. They're tired of it on the campaign trail. They're tired of it in D.C. And that's one of the reasons why I got in this race, and I think one of the reasons why the campaign's doing so well. But what you asked about was cottonseed oil. So I did see that recently, and I've talked to several of the ag leaders in the area, including Steve Vetter at Plains Cotton Growers, about this very specific issue. And I disagree with the secretary. I believe that the department does have the authority to do that. I know that there's a disagreement between the department and Congress on this, and it's bureaucrats. It's bureaucratic, blame shuffling game where we can't agree on the technicalities, like the difference between base acres and planted acres. And the point is, we just need to help our cotton farmers, and we need to help the people that are trying to grow a product right now and do that. And we could easily do it with cottonseed oil. So, I support Chairman Conaway and his efforts to continue to push this issue, and I would certainly be pushing it if I were your representative in D.C.
I want to ask you about an issue that has popped up. I don't know really if it's gotten a lot of play in the national media due to the Donald Trump versus Ted Cruz versus Marco Rubio presidential race. But yesterday, you had two lawmakers who offered a bill requiring women to register for the draft. Duncan Hunter, Republican out of California, said that he did this to force Congress to consider ramifications of the Pentagon's recent decision to open all combat jobs to women. The Marine veteran of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, member of the House Armed Services Committee, has been a vocal opponent of that move. I want you to weigh in on this whole issue. Number one, opening up all combat jobs to women, good idea, bad idea, and why? And then also, if we're going to do that, if that's the path we're going to go down, should women have to register for the draft?
Yeah, so in my 23 years that I've served in the Air Force, I've served with many women and of all services, and they are some of our most capable warriors that we have. There are clearly some tasks in the military that are more difficult for women than they are for men, just because of the physical differences between the two genders. And I think what we're talking about and this whole issue was caused by the Obama administration's attempt to push social policy through the military, and it's just wrong. When it comes to military policy, we need to focus on the policies and rules we need to have in place in order to defend the United States and the people who live here in American interest abroad. And I think if you can do that in a gender-neutral way, that's fine. But an aggressive policy that we've seen to open up all combat jobs for women, even the ones that would be more difficult for them, I just think is misguided.
Are we seeing that training or testing, are we seeing that impacted by this push to open up all these jobs?
I can tell you that I did not. I was 3 months ago. I was still in the Air Force. I was in command of the base at Dyess, and there are no combat jobs at Dyess Air Force Base that were closed to women, and we have been we've been sort of all of our jobs have been open to women for a very long time, and we have not and never did water down our standards in order to accommodate women bomber pilots or women weapons loaders or any of the various jobs that we had at Dyess Air Force Base. So I personally didn't see that. I worry about that in other fields and other services, but I can't say anything about that because I just didn't see it.
I've been asking the candidates who have come on lately because I've heard from voters, and I'm sure you have as well. The voters need help defining each of these candidates and separation of all these candidates, especially I think the top candidates that are in this race. So how do you do that? How do you convince voters out there that your leadership, your values should be the thing that separates you from the others? What is it, I guess, that separates you from the others in this race?
It's the fact that I'm not a politician, and I'm someone who has fought the federal bureaucracy and made things happen for people and made things happen for the Air Force, for the Airmen at Dyess Air Force Base, and I can do that for West Texas. I don't want to go to D.C. to make a career for myself. As I've said, I've had a career, and it's one I'm very proud of. I want to go to D.C. to make a difference, and I will be a congressman that this region and this district can be proud of.
Visiting with Colonel Michael Bob Starr in the, the next minute or so. I know we're gonna visit with you again during the week of early voting. Probably not until then, though. So go ahead and tell folks in the next minute or so what else they need to know about you, and then where they can find your information online.
Well, I tell folks they're going to hear a lot of talk in this race. They're going to hear talk about defeating terrorism. I have actually fought terrorists. I'm the only one in this race that has fought terrorists. I have trained and deployed America's sons and daughters to fight the Islamic State. They're going to be talk about securing borders. I have secured borders overseas. They're going to be talk about cutting federal spending. I have cut federal spending at Dyess Air Force Base. Talk is cheap. I didn't get to be a colonel in the United States Air Force or the commander of Dyess Air Force Base by being a good talker. I am an action-oriented leader, and I will lead based on my principles, and I will be the statesman that we are all looking for. And I would like to do that for West Texas. You can find out more at starforcongress.com. Please stop by the website and give us a look.
Colonel Michael Bob Starr, as always, appreciate your time. We'll visit with you again very soon.
All right. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. It's Colonel Michael Bob Starr, candidate for Texas 19.